Why do we always hear about the gulags, but never about the good stuff people experienced in the Soviet Union? Revolution is always shown as violent and harsh, right? Of course it is. What do you think a revolution is? It is when one class takes power away from another class. Let's stop and think. What actually changed after the revolutions? Let's cut through the capitalist propaganda by looking at the Soviet Union and Cuba. Before 1917, over 80% of the population was illiterate. Peasants were still living under czarist landlords. Healthcare barely existed for the poor. Within just a few decades, the Soviet Union achieved universal literacy, established modern hospitals, provided free public housing, and guaranteed jobs for everyone. And millions of trained engineers, doctors, and teachers, most of whom came from working-class or peasant families. They managed to pull all of this off while also losing 20 million Soviet citizens during World War II. Just take a moment to let that sink in for a minute. Okay, let's look at pre-revolutionary Cuba. Before the revolution in 1959, U.S. corporations owned the land, and most Cubans were illiterate and malnourished. Doctors and schools were concentrated in cities. Rural people had nothing. Said note, you remember Texas Senator and anti-communist Ted Cruz? He admitted on Tucker Carlson's show that his dad fought in the Cuban Revolution and was imprisoned by the Batista regime. Someone who could spit on his father's heroism and sacrifice for the Cuban people would certainly abandon his fellow Texans during one of the worst storms in state history. His people were enduring extreme cold and widespread blackouts. He left the state. But I digress. After the revolution, Cuba launched a national literacy campaign that taught 700,000 people to read in just 1 year. Healthcare became a human right. By the 1980s, Cuba had more doctors per capita than most of the developed world. Despite being held back by the U.S. blockade, Parenti calls them democratic developments because they expand freedoms where none existed. The freedom to learn, to live past childhood, to eat, to be treated with dignity. Revolutions, as Parenti points out, are those powerful moments when the underprivileged rise up and rewrite the rules. If these upheavals can provide people with land, literacy, and healthcare, I think the mistakes are worth it. Stay tuned for more content by liking and subscribing. Thanks.